Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Wright, Justice for All. In the last episode we finished our investigation trying to figure out how Maximilian Galactica could fly, or at least some form or variation of him. Because, well, Mo saw his face, but no one else did, and it was a man who flew away, but no one else could prove that it was in fact Maximilian, aside from the fact that it wore the hat and the cloak of Maximilian. So today we're back in trial with Franziska von Karma, who had taken Acro, the acrobat, in a wheelchair for being the new witness for the trial. It is at this time that we are going to figure out just who killed the ringmaster and why. I sense that it was Acro, but why would he kill the ringmaster of all people? It sounds like Acro loved the ringmaster like a father. It's time to figure out just where all the pieces lie. Okay, here we go. We are going to continue the Turnabout Big Top with our trial. I've also got with myself a fancy new kind of drink. All it really is cranberry juice mixed with Sunny Delight. It's super delicious though. 50-50 proportions if you want to know. Good morning, Max. Oh, yeah. Good morning, sweeties. You don't seem like your usual sparkling self today. I'm always like this before I go in front of an audience. I'm working up to it. Teehee. Don't get nervous, Maxie. Here, have a glass of milk. Regina! How fabulous, my sweetie pie princess. You came to watch my performance today? Of course I did. Mo told me that I should come and watch this. Mo said that? So what kind of performance will you put on today? Let me guess, you'll fly at the end? It's not that kind of show. Isn't that right, my sweeties? Huh? I think my sweetie pie princess doesn't... Yeah, she doesn't seem to realize what's going on or even where she is. Well, Max, it looks like it's time to raise the curtain. I'll see you later. Today, I'm just a member of the audience. Fabulous. Enjoy yourself out there. Good luck, Max. You're the best. Regina's different, don't you think, Nick? Top of the morning to ya. Everybody, let's get ready to get stuck in legal limbo. How low can you go? Mo. Top of the morning to ya, governor. Top of the morning? That's the ticket. Attacking the day starts with energy in the morning. The early bird gets the worm, but then again, worms lack higher brain functions. Here, Max, I brought you a present. Have some milk. Oh my, thanks. So how are you today, Wright? Well, I've got a feeling that today I'm going to face off against the real culprit. You mean Acro? You think he did it? Be careful. He's used to putting his life on the line, literally. He's got guts to spare. If all you've got to worry about is how thin the tightrope is, I'm used to it already. It just means that I won't be able to press him like I can other witnesses. What are you gonna do then, Nick? I guess today we'll just have to do without our usual psychological warfare. Today, we rely on evidence, and the only way we'll get past Acro and to the truth. You're right, but it's gonna be tough. I want to make sure that Regina sees it all today. It's important. Then she'll finally have to deal with the reality of what happened to her father. You want us to make sure Regina watches? Yes. That's why I brought her here to court today. What's that supposed to mean? She needs to know that when people die, they don't just become stars. I may be an old-fashioned clown, but I don't believe in people becoming stars. I mean, yeah, Regina needs a little bit of a kick in the pants to jumpstart her outlook on reality, but I mean, that's a bit of a different kind of tone for sure. Court is now in session for the trial of Maximilian Galactica. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Very well. Ms. von Karma, you may proceed with your case. The prosecution would like to revise its previous theory of events. What's the meaning of this? We have discovered a new witness, or shall I say, a new eyewitness. One that saw Maximilian Galactica fly off from the scene of the crime. Order, order! I had a feeling something like this would come up. Due to this revision, we are now prepared to explain how the defendant flew that night. An explanation the prosecution will present if the need so arises. In fact, my detectives stayed up all night creating a mock-up of the scene on my orders. Poor Gumshoe. Very well. Please call your witness to the stand. Time to get to work, or shall I say time to walk the court tightrope. Name and occupation. Ken Dingling, but everyone calls me Acro. I'm employed as an acrobat at the Very Big Circus. Where were you the night of the crime? I was in my room that night. If you look at the map, you will see the witness's room is near the crime scene. My room is on the 3rd floor. The crime scene is below my window. The night of the crime, the witness saw something quite shocking. Would you tell us what you witnessed? Okay. It was just after 10 p.m. I was resting in my bed. Around that time, I heard a large thump noise from outside the window. Then, a few moments later, I saw someone flying right by my window. It was Max Galactica. I only saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like. To be honest, when I saw that, I thought I was dreaming. This witness's testimony matches up exactly with that of the clown. If that's the case, there's very little the prosecution need add. All that's left is to explain how the defendant disappeared into the night sky. Before we get that far, I'd like to cross-examine the witness. A foolish choice by a foolish fool who wishes to feel the foolish sadness of a sad fool. A man must know the proper timing for things, Mr. Phoenix Wright. That phrase just reminds me of Game of Thrones. There's a character, the man of many faces, who is like, a man needs a name. And then a girl knows a name. A man must have the name. The girl names Britannia, Denmark. A man has a name. Just like your old friend, Mr. Miles Edgeworth did. Mr. Wright, do you have a problem with the witness's testimony? In the words of Miss von Karma, may I quote yesterday's proceeding? There's no way that actually happened. Very well. You may proceed with your cross-examination. It was just after 10 p.m. I was resting in my bed. So pressing, I do want to just press. You said that you were resting in bed. One would thus assume that you turned the lights off in your room, correct? That's correct. But there are safety lights around the outside of the lodging house. It's so bright, sometimes it can make it hard to sleep. If that's the case, wouldn't it be a good idea to close some curtains? I never really thought of that. I guess that means I'm off to buy some curtains. Sometimes I do make myself useful in these chambers. Ow! The witness will proceed with his testimony. Around that time, I heard a large thump noise outside. Your room is on the 3rd floor, right? Yes. And you said that you were resting in bed. That is correct. But you were still able to hear a sound from outside? I was indeed. Doesn't seem to get results, but maybe something... Let's see. I don't think I have anything to match. And nothing, Your Honor. Until I find a clear contradiction, I should tread lightly. Then a few moments later, I saw someone flying right by my window. Are you sure it was a human being? It could have been a mannequin, or perhaps a large action figure. Setting aside the possibility of a mannequin, an action figure is plausible. You have no need to mince words with Mr. Phoenix Wright. Testify to the truth, and only the truth, just as if we were there with you that night. I believe it was a human. I just strengthened his testimony. I wonder if Acro's statement jives with the facts. Oh no, it's gonna make me ask this question each time. Still nothing wrong. It was Max Galactica. The light in your room was turned off then, right? That's true. I was going to bed after all. So with the lights off, you were still able to see a human fly by your window. The safety lights lit things up enough for me to see. But honestly, there was only enough light for me to see the silhouette outside my window. It was the person's back, so I couldn't see the white rose on the front. Did you see any other symbols? I clearly saw the silk hat as well as the cloak wrapped around his body. I'm convinced that the person I saw was Max Galactica. Feel that there's a contradiction here. If there was a contradiction, then prove it with evidence. She's right. Let's see some evidence. Do you have any evidence to support your claim to this contradiction? It would be the hat. You claim to have seen the exact same thing Mo saw that night. Do you stand by that? What do you mean? The silk hat. What about the silk hat? I saw it on Max's head as he flew by my window. Well, you should have tried looking down out of your window that night. That would have been quite difficult considering the state I'm in. Just looking outside the window was enough challenge for me. That's a shame because you would have noticed the silk hat found on the scene. That's the ringmaster's hat, right? Afraid not. No matter how you look at it, this is Max's silk hat. Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright? Are you saying that Max has 2 silk hats? No, this is a handmade, one-of-a-kind model made only for Maximilian Galactica, which means Acro that you've been fibbing on the stand. Order, order. As always, it looks like someone just had to open their mouth before thinking. Are you okay, Nick? Well, I opened my big mouth and now I have to back it up. How about it, Mr. Wright? What would cause this witness to commit perjury in this courtroom today? He has a grudge against Max. Acro is dreaming. Acro's the real culprit. Your Honor, on this occasion, the defense accuses Acro himself. On this occasion? Accuse Acro? What in the world are you accusing him of? Obviously, we accuse him of the murder of Mr. Russell Berry. Mr. Wright, are you serious? Deadly serious, Your Honor. Ha ha ha. I think your trips to the circus have served you well. You seem to have learned how to try and grab at the audience's hearts and minds. Your Honor, don't allow yourself to be swayed by theatrics. Trying to wow the crowd with smoke and mirrors is the oldest bluff in the book. Really? If you don't believe me, just look at the witness. He's calm enough for it to almost be scary. He is staying rather calm and collected. Mr. Dingling, do you have any response to the defense's accusation? I don't really need to say a thing, do I? What do you mean? Everyone, take a good look at me. Can't even stand up by myself, let alone leave the lodging house. That's true. I understand that Mr. Wright is trying to help his client. But to do this by accusing me of a murder of all things. See, even a sliver of common sense makes it clear the accusation is ludicrous. She's right, way to pick on the disabled, you heartless, cruel man. Phoenix is a poopy head. See that, Mr. Phoenix Wright? If you're trying to drum up support from the peanut gallery, that's how you do it. I think that's enough of this little game. I've got a doctor's note to confirm that Acro is unable to stand under his own power. Maybe the defense is planning on making a claim to counter this as well. I can hear the defense now. Acro had an accomplice. What do you say about this, Mr. Wright? Did Acro have an accomplice? I don't think he did. Of course he didn't. Now then, this must be when we get to hear the name of the mysterious accomplice. Not this time, Von Karma. What? You're not going to sucker me into this one. What are you blabbering about, Mr. Wright? There was no accomplice. Acro planned to commit this murder all by himself. Order, order! What are you getting at? Way to keep them on their toes, Nick. Now I'm going to have to prove how it all fits together. I have to show how Acro murdered Russell Berry. Can you do it, Nick? Can you really do that? I know that I can. I can't stop now. If I stop attacking, I'm doomed. Alright, then let's do it. Mr. Phoenix Wright, if this witness is the killer, then his eyewitness account is all lies, right? Mr. Wright, I'd like you to clear something up for me. When the crime was committed, where exactly was Mr. Dingling? Well, he can't go up the stairs, so his room. He was obviously here the entire time. That's Acro's room. Pretty simple, eh? Acro wasn't able to leave the lodging house by himself. In that case, there can only be one correct answer. Acro didn't leave his room to kill the ringmaster. What? Are you nuts? What say you, Mr. Dingling? He's very calm and collected. It's an interesting theory. That's it? Considering that what you proposed is impossible, yes, that's it. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. As the witness has stated, your assertion is impossible. As he is in a wheelchair, there's no way he could go to the scene or be the killer. You've got a point. Seems you've forgotten once again, Mr. Phoenix Wright. The defendant was clearly spotted at the scene of the crime. That's true. Mo said that he saw Max, didn't he? For Maya, it's still impossible for humans to fly. Do you mind if I ask a question, Mr. Wright? What is it? I understand some of your logic. However, how do you think that I killed him? If I can't leave my room, I obviously couldn't wear Max's costume. How did he do it? That's the next course of this legal buffet. If you mess up here, I've got to give this one some serious thought. I'm sure that Acro killed the ringmaster, and he did it while he was in his room, no doubt about it. Do I have the evidence? I feel like I do. I'm going to present some evidence. So what did Mr. Dingling use? I believe I collected it earlier. This. What's that? A picture? It is indeed. The problem is with the item that's shown in the picture. The bust. It's quite a large bust. And because of the life-sized, it is also very, very heavy. Heavy enough to guarantee a certain death, especially if it was dropped from a third-story window. Ah! See, this is how Acro was able to kill the ringmaster. With the force of gravity and Maximilian Galactica's ample bust. Order. So you're saying the bust fell onto the ringmaster. A rather simple crime. Even if you were stuck in a wheelchair, it would be incredibly easy to commit. How could you possibly wheel a wheelchair with something so heavy? It's impossible. Well, Acro is an acrobat. He should have more than enough upper body strength to carry something like the bust. Mr. Dingling, how do you respond to these charges? Well, Acro's at a loss for words. He should be. He knows that I'm getting close to the truth. Well, Acro, you can't run Ow! I'd watch what I'd say if I were you, Mr. Phoenix Wright. What? Your Honor, the physical health of the witness is material to this case. I demand that we get proper testimony from the witness himself. Testimony, you say? Von Karma. She's just using this testimony as a ruse to stall for time. There's absolutely no need for such testimony. The defense has its version of the murder. The prosecution has the right to respond. The defense's objection is overruled. Why can't he see things my way once in a while? Mr. Dingling, I'm sorry, but we need you to testify about your physical condition. If you have any doubts about your ability to testify, we can request expert testimony. The witness will have no problems. However, let's all be respectful towards him. Thank you. That woman will sink to any low to win a case. I mean, technically it's not really sinking. This is part of her job, trying to make sure that, hey, you're accusing this guy in a wheelchair of committing murder, and we need to know that his state is in fact this state. I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust. I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the ringmaster's head. Thus, it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think? I have no doubts in regards to the witness's testimony. It was impossible for him to lift the bust and stick himself out far enough to look. Not to mention that he could not have known the location of the ringmaster's head. A single false step would have led to even more severe injuries. That's what I was thinking. What's your opinion on the matter? I'd still like to proceed with my cross-examination. He's simply stalling. It's real shameful, really. I can't let her get to me. I have to focus. Okay. Acrobatic. However, lifting the bust. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of my lower body. Acro, you didn't really need to lean out of the window, did you? What are you driving at, Mr. Wright? You already knew ahead of time where the ringmaster's head was going to be. Quite precisely, I might add. Your silly hinting at things is pointless, Mr. Wright. Enough stalling. How about you show us some evidence? But I did such a good job hinting. Yes. Hurry up and explain things, Mr. Wright. Maybe you should take a look at this. The key point here is the wooden box. The same wooden box that the victim was found hunched over. Oh, what if the wooden box wasn't being carried by the ringmaster? What if it was on the ground? The question is, who placed the wooden box here? Who? When Ben and company saw the ringmaster, they didn't see him holding the box, which means that this wooden box was already placed at the scene of the crime. I have to admit that your theory makes a lot of sense. Then, the moment that the bust came falling down was exactly the same moment that the ringmaster lifted up this wooden box. Which means that the answer to all these questions is now crystal clear. You mean, if the bust were to fall upon the point marked by the wooden box, there would be no way it could miss the head of the victim. No. This is very interesting. Order. This is unbelievable. Finally, some of these loose ends are starting to tie themselves up. Now I just gotta keep going, and there's only one way to go from here. Forward. So the next question I have is who placed that wooden box at the scene? It was Mr. Dingling, of course. He connected it to a rope, and then all he had to do was lower it down. Ow! Allow me to whip some sense into you. Mr. Phoenix Wright! Ow! The ringmaster's head could have been anywhere when he lifted the box. That's why the box was so specially made. Specially made? Indeed, it had the most particular feature. The weight. It's 20 pounds. The box has a remarkable weight. According to the court record, it weighs 20 pounds. Just to lift up this wooden box would have required... Oh, I see. One would have to squat down, then lift it up with their body, wouldn't you say? That's exactly what I was trying to point out. The box is also very large. The box also has carrying handles on either side, doesn't it? That is correct. To lift up the box, you'd have to squat down. Which means, no matter who you are, your head would be in approximately the same place. Fool! He's very calm and collected. I have to say, this is my favorite witness so far. He's not getting riled up at anything. Does he even bother to listen to me anymore? I've heard what you had to say. I must admit, I'm shocked at your imaginative skills. Did you do it? Did you place this wooden box in the plaza? Mr. Wright may have a vivid imagination, but I could never have done what he's proposing. What? Mr. Wright, do you recall the original location of Max's bust? I remember. Of course I remember. It was on top of the table in the cafeteria. Then what happened to it? I'd like you to remember one important fact, Mr. Wright. I could not possibly leave the lodging house by myself. You understand what I mean, don't you? I may very well have been able to drop the bust from my room. However, how would you have gotten the bust from the cafeteria to my room? I am curious. Bronze. It's shiny! You see, Mr. Phoenix Wright, explain that. Don't forget, you said there was no accomplice. Tell us exactly how the witness could have carried the bust from the cafeteria. We definitely have a problem here. But this is no place to get perplexed. I've got to get my wits about me and prove how things happened once and for all. Let's hear your explanation. How did the witness get the bust? Where's the monkey? Right here. A monkey? Everyone knows Money. He loves shiny objects of any size. Oh, like when he stole the ventriloquist's ring. So, are you saying the witness had a monkey steal the bust? Of course he didn't order the monkey to steal it. The monkey stole it on his own and then brought it back home. Home? Money lives in Acro's room. Acro's room? But the bust was bronze, wasn't it? Bronze isn't all that shiny. Maybe you should put the whip down sometimes and read the court record. My, those are some very nice cards he's holding. Yes, and they are made of platinum, which is very shiny. Wah, Acro. Money is a strong monkey, right? It'd be easy for him to bring the bust back to your room. If he wasn't able to handle that himself, I'd be on the market for a new roommate. Order, order. I said order. Miss Von Karma. Where is the bust in question at this moment? I don't know. We're searching for it as we speak. This is a rather strange turn of events. But let's say that the monkey had not stolen the bust. What would have happened then? Well, in that event, something else would have been used as the murder weapon. Wait. Then you mean this bust was the murder weapon purely by accident? It's possible. Maybe Acro saw Money's mountain of stolen goods and thought to use one of them. Anyways, I think we've more than proven one critical fact. Namely, that it was entirely possible that Acro was the murderer. Moron! Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright's argument was so circular, I'm still a bit dizzy. However, his argument does hold water. There's no denying that. Ow! Don't seem so flamboozled, especially by this fraud of an attorney. Fraud. You've forgotten the absolute most important thing, Mr. Phoenix Wright. And what is that? You should know. You forgot that your fraud of a magical client was spotted at the scene of the crime. There's no reason to doubt the clown's testimony. That's true. How do you respond to that, Mr. Wright? Don't let her beat her now. This is my chance to turn this trial around. When the murder occurred, there were two people at the scene of the crime. One was the victim, Russell Berry, and the other was the murderer himself. Answer this and only this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Who was the murderer the clown saw? The bust. He saw Max's Ow! I asked who the other person Mo saw on the scene. That evidence has nothing to do with the question. En contraire, mon frère, it does indeed have something to do with the question. Mo said that he saw Max's silhouette, but he did not actually see the man himself. It wasn't a human being he saw. How is that possible? It's simple, really. What Mo saw that night was Max's bust. What are you talking about? Have you tried using your brain at all in this case? The silhouette he saw was wearing a cloak. There's no reason why you couldn't attach a cloak to the bust. It would be easy to hang off of one of the cards in the bust's hands. Idiot! Who in their right mind would put a cloak on a bust? It doesn't matter who put it on the bust. Now, wait a minute now, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? That question is of the utmost importance in this case. Don't you agree? He caught me. So let's have it, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? I feel like the obvious answer is Acro. It could be Russell. Let's go for Russell. Fool! Him? Are you saying it was the victim himself, Russell Berry? That's what I'm saying. The victim himself placed the cloak on the bust. Place the cloak isn't really the right way of putting it. Then what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Wright? Explain. When the bust fell and conked the man on the Russell Berry on the head, the cloak got snagged on the statue. Nick, do you really have a handle on all of this? I'm fine, Maya. I'm finally putting all the pieces together. There's really only one picture I can paint anyways. Alright, so you want to know what really happened that night? Let's step back in time. Acro used a rope to lower the wooden box onto the scene. Then he attaches that rope to the bust and dangled the bust out of his bedroom window directly above the wooden box. At the time, the ringmaster told Max to wait in his room and went to the scene. Of course, at the time, the ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he didn't want anyone to recognize him that night. But, just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house by none other than the ventriloquist and his puppet, Ben Entrilo. When the ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the box. And that's when Acro took his chance and released the rope. Now this is when the magic happens. At the very instant the bust hit the victim, You wait just a second there, Mr. Wright. As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this just isn't true. It can't be. It's still a little early to get so upset, Ms. Von Karma. This circus isn't over yet. What? The impact of the bust on the victim threw the cloak up, which snagged on the bust. That impact also caused the sound a certain witness heard, prompting him to take a look. That witness was, of course, Lawrence Moe Curls the clown. When Moe looked out his window, the cloak had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Acro naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Moe saw the bust being raised with the cloak dangling on it, primarily because in his wheelchair, he couldn't see out the window. So he just kept pulling the bust up. And that is how the magical murderer disappearing into the night sky came to be. So you see, the only person who could have pulled this off is the one person who was able to drop the murder weapon from above the crime scene. Acro. It could only have been you. Again, so calm and collected. And I love that he's interacting with the little birds who are with him. Acro's been playing mind games with all of us. He sure has. But he has come to the end of his rope now. So? What now? You've graced us with a rather long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove that your fairy tale is true? Evidence? In this court, only two things matter. The power of evidence and the power of my whip. Don't forget the power of my gavel as well. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence? They say they want evidence. I just explained how there can only be one possible murder method. But there's still something unusual about Moe's eyewitness account. Unusual? A contradiction, actually. Okay, then. Use that to get us out of this jam. That's enough talking amongst yourselves. Proceed, Mr. Wright. Present some evidence to the court that backs your claim. I want hard proof that you unraveled the trick to this magical case. This. The problem is Max's three symbols. You know, the silk hat, cloak, and the white roses. Those symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings. Yesterday, there were two contradictions in Moe's testimony. The silk hat was one, and the white roses were the other. But the theory I just presented explains all of these contradictions. You fool, do you ever shut up? Max's silk hat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Moe said yesterday. He testified that the criminal he saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. There's only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Moe saw was actually the bust's. Makes sense if you look at it that way. Then he did see the silk hat. Well, sort of. Fine, you've got that one, but what about the other contradiction? The other contradiction. Remember what the ventriloquist said in the court? He said he witnessed white roses on Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. The clown said that there were no white roses. I'd like you to try to explain that one away. You can do it, Nick. Of course I can explain it all. What was that? Please recall the instant when the cloak snagged onto the bust. If the cloak snagged onto the bust, what happened to the white roses? They'd be hidden. Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged on the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would have ended on the back of the bust. Which explains why Mo didn't see them. The white roses were not visible because they were on the back side of the bust. Order! Order! This is quite the shocking state of affairs. Mr. Wright's theory still sounds a bit absurd to me. However, let's just keep going down this road for a while and see where it leads. Let's do this, Nick. Then maybe Von Karma will finally throw in the towel. Oh my god. Motive. The motive. So much for that theory. Mr. Wright, do you mind? What is it? You took the time to research our circus, didn't you? Well, yes, I did. Is there something making you think that I didn't? If you did, then maybe you'll understand why I think you're off track. Why is that? Motive. This witness feels an incredible debt of gratitude towards the ringmaster. Anyone with any relation to the circus is well aware of this. Thus, there is absolutely no way someone like this would kill the ringmaster. Unless he was trying to kill Regina. He slipped the note on her, and she was supposed to be the one coming to check out the box. Your Honor, I'd like you to hear Acro's story. Learn about his relationship with the ringmaster and his life up until now. Well, what do we do? There's no doubting that Acro's deeply respected the ringmaster. Acro's motive. It seems that this case isn't over yet. Very well. However, I feel this is a good place to take a break. I will listen to the rest of Mr. Dingling's testimony after recess. This court will now take a 10-minute recess. Also, I just realized this game originally came out for the Nintendo DS. These court proceedings are in two parts like this because the DS and the 3DS were notorious for giving players a notification saying, "Hey, why don't you take a break?" And that is it for the first part of Acro's testimony. It seems like we are on the right track. And I've already created a mental map that Acro didn't mean to kill the ringmaster. He was trying to kill Regina. He put the threat of the note to meet at 10 p.m. in her costume during the breakfast. And she put it up on the board, and the ringmaster saw the message there. Acro wouldn't have known that the ringmaster had saw the note. It's all coming together. God, I'm like a little mini Phoenix Wright. If only I wasn't this bad at trying to do these things. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode of Phoenix Wright, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Mash that like button and subscribe if you have not for more Phoenix Wright content. I'll see you all in the next episode. Later!